So we need energy to change, to do anything. Especially when we are surrounded by a society, by a culture that really depletes our energy. When society or ourselves are in a state of constant conflict. So conflict is dissipation of energy. And we need energy to change. Great deal of energy. So how do we gather this energy? Any well-established habit, maybe to change it, to break it down, to transform it, to completely go beyond. It requires a great deal of not only mental but also physical energy. So how do we get this energy? To change, to observe, to understand and so on. One needs energy. The good old formula was suppress. Don't, no sex, no, get up very early in the morning. You know what I mean? Drive. That way you hope to gather energy, which all involves conflict. And that obviously is a waste of energy, conflict. When the monk or the businessman or the lazy person says, I must get up in the morning at exactly 8 o'clock and drives himself to get up at 8 o'clock, it's a waste of energy. But yet to get up at 8 o'clock without conflict and therefore have more energy. After all, if a writer whose aim is to write, but through writing to achieve success, fame, a lot of money, with it goes fear, anxiety, not being able to come to the very top, competition, all those are wastes of energy, aren't they, after all? And his writing becomes more and more brittle, not so elegant, not so fine, all that business. So, however, how is one to have this energy? It's really quite an enormous problem. It's just a trick. Not bursts of energy, but constant, steady, driving energy, mentally. How do you say about it? Not to have moods. That's a waste of energy. Not to talk endlessly about nothing. Chattering away about mentally, soliloquy, keep going. Get into a habit of counting, steps, and people get all kinds of fanciful. It's really very important question, I have a lot of energy for this. Does it depend on the physical state? Or is it independent of physical state? Of course, if you have cancer or, if you have very grave disease, that's quite a different problem. But does this energy depend on a physical well-being? Or is it somewhat independent of it? If that energy is dependent on good physical health, any slight illness, any physical disturbance makes that energy diminish. And so we are caught in this imbalance. Or it has nothing to do with physical energy as well as mental energy. It's an energy quite different from either. I mean, you know people who got plenty of mental energy in spite of their physical illnesses, ailments. They are, they might have ulcers, they might have this or that, but minor aches and minor, ailments. But they have got plenty of mental energy. And those who have a great deal of physical energy need not necessarily have the other. You know, both these types. So, does this energy depend on any of this? I'm sure you have been ill. I'm not wishing, but one has been ill. With that illness, does this ordinary mental illness, energy, does it diminish? If it does, it is dependent on the physical. Therefore, one has to keep the physical organism extraordinarily healthy, watchful. Right? That means careful diet, right exercise, go to bed early, and whole thing. And is one willing to do all that, such restraint without effort, so that you have abundance of mental energy? Or after all, if one goes to bed very late after a hard day's work, any kind of physical work, and next day you feel slightly unwell, slightly out of gear. So one has to have very good, balanced, regular day, a regular life. Exercise, good diet, a balanced diet, not rich diet or a luxurious diet, balanced diet. And there comes it's quite an extraordinary problem, you see. I mean, when one talks, one gestures a great deal. Is that a waste of energy? And so if you arranged one's life healthily, would you have the mental energy which has a different quality altogether? Not the mental energy of a businessman, of a writer, or it has to be something different. Otherwise, just a bourgeois vitality, which is nothing at all. So how do you set about this? Go on, sir. And if you say, well, I must not do this, and the body demands it, you follow, nervously, and there is a conflict, therefore the dissipation. How do you bring all this about into order so that you have different quality of energy altogether? I mean, a man who goes to the office every day for 40 years, my God, day after day, he's got plenty of energy. Extraordinary amount of energy. I couldn't do it. He sits up late and, drinks and all kinds of things he does. And yet he has enough energy to go to the office, work a little bit, probably not so efficiently, but works, to earn enough livelihood, money and so on, carries on. Surely we need a different kind of energy than that. Or the monks who have so trained their body, get up 2 o'clock in the morning. You know those monks. Pray, do all kinds of things, then work in the garden, cultivate the olives or the orchard or wine or whatever they do in it. You know all the people and the energy that young people have.
Is it a question of having a different kind of energy or putting the same energy to a better use?
Find out, so go into it, see. If the same energy, if you use the same energy for better use, what's the better use? How do you use it for the better purpose? What's the better purpose? Or are we approaching the problem altogether wrongly? We say don't have a little bit of sex, don't, too much of it dissipate your energy. Then they say eat right food, control yourself, don't smoke, don't drink, do this and do that, all repressive measures, right? And those repressive measures are a great deal of wastage of energy, right?
Isn't there a type of control without conflict?
Obviously, there must be. There is. It has nothing to do with any of this at all. I don't know if you follow what I mean. There must obviously be a certain physical orderly living. Obvious. Without any effort. Getting up in the morning without driving the body. I don't know if you have ever experimented with this. That is, the body has its own intelligence. To awaken that intelligence without the interference of will, make it do something it should do. I don't know if you or not do. We eat food according to our taste and pleasure. And so, all the problem involved in all that. I don't know if you ever tried it, to see if the body can function on its own intelligence without the interference of the pleasure of a thought introduced into it. So if the body can function on its own intelligence, one has solved a great many problems. But that bodily intelligence is denied when there is the appetite of pleasure is active. So gradually the intelligence of the body is destroyed by the demands of the tongue, taste. I don't know if you have noticed it. So that the body becomes extraordinarily sensitive. So you can leave the body alone after establishing the right food, the right way of allowing the body to have. Then we can move to something else, which is the mind. But that the mind can have this abundance of energy which isn't brought about through conflict. When one is in conflict, like in war, like in business, like competition, it has its own energy. Or the energy one has when there is fear. Run away from it, do something, that. So can there be, in one way, there are so many different kinds of energy, or is it all one energy? which by tradition, by custom, by habit, by conditioning is wasted in a society, in a culture which says you must compete. Otherwise you'll be finished. Make a success of your life. Be somebody. And therefore you struggle. In that there is a great deal of wastage of energy, because there is the energy of fear of not being able to, driving your capacity, all that may be a waste of energy. Though it produces a different kind of energy, right? So, what? So can there be energy which has totally different quality? I mean, the wastage of energy in relationship. Most people's relationships are a battle. Right? Therefore, relationship becomes a great wastage of energy, the wrong kind of relationship. When you and I fight because we have images about each other, which we call relationship, that's a waste of energy. And it's a wastage of energy when the observer separates himself from the thing observed. I don't know. Anything that divides obviously is a wastage of energy, no? It comes to a point, one sees all this and says, is there energy which feeds itself and is not dependent? It feeds upon itself and therefore becomes more and more and more vital and not dependent on the physical or the capacity to see things very clearly, and so not confused, not miserable, not unhappy, not suffering. Basically, the activity of the ego, the me, the self, is an isolating process. My house, my family, my polity, my character, my children, my job, my development, my capacity, you follow? I want to be the greatest success in the world, or in my field, or in my particular place, and so on. That's all the activity of the self, which creates its extraordinary energy. That's what's happening in the world. That's what we have. That energy is an isolating process, right? And dividing. It divides. Now, when that activity of the dividing process comes to an end, what is the other quality of energy which is not isolating, which is not dividing, which is not wishing to become, be, all that business? Have you ever tried sitting absolutely quiet, physically quiet, without twitching, without, opening, shutting your eyes and looking around, just to be completely quiet? And also, for the mind to not to chatter, not to soliloquize or to think, talk to itself, all that, just to be, also to be completely quiet. I think from that comes quite a different quality of life.